In this video, we're going to take a look at a simple recipe for painting Horus Heresy era Imperial Fists. To begin with, I base coat the whole model with GW Mournfang Brown through the airbrush. I'm thinning it with life colour thinner, at approximately 2 drops of thinner to 1 drop of paint, and I just want a nice solid base coat of brown. Now I start the pre-highlight. I'm using Tamiya XF2 flat white to do this with, and again through the airbrush, thinned approximately 1:1 with Tamiya thinner. I tend to spray it around 20 to 25 psi here in the UK. We're just going to focus on all the areas where the light would catch, trying to maintain a consistent light source. And I'm leaving a little bit of brown in the shadows to help us with our shading later on. Now I'm going to apply the main yellow colour, and for this I'm using Vallejo Model Air Yellow. It's a very thin paint, so I hardly have to dilute it at all to use it through the airbrush. You can see how thinly the layers are going on, which is going to allow us to build up a nice strong colour, but still be able to see some of that pre-shade that we put in before. Paint's always going to dry a lot more opaque than it goes on, but by the time I get around to the front of the model again, that layer is dry and I can see if I like the colour or not. I would say I put on between 3 and 5 layers of yellow for this stage. Here you can see once it's dry, it's a much stronger colour. But now we need to try and put a little bit more interest and colour back into those shadows. So for that, I'm going to use GW SERAPHIM Sepia. And because the wash is obviously very thin, I'm not thinning it at all to use it through the airbrush. And I'm just aiming for those areas in shadow. Don't worry about any little bits of overspray with this step. Paint's so thin, you're not going to notice it. And then the final colour with the airbrush is GW Flash Gitz Yellow. And this is just for those final highlights, so focusing on the most extreme parts of the model. So the top of the head, top of the backpack, the shoulder pads, that type of thing. Now to get ready for the transfer stage, I give the whole model a couple of coats of polyurethane gloss varnish. Seeing as I've glossed the model for the transfers, I may as well do my pin washing at this stage as well. And for this I'm just using a Winsor & Newton Artist Oil Colour Burnt Umber. And if you want to know more about pin washing, check out our video on it. Once the decals and the oil were dry, I gave the whole model a coat of matte varnish. The last bit of armour that we have to paint is the trim, and for this I've base coated it Vallejo Model Colour Black, and I'm just going to put in a little highlight with Vallejo Model Colour Dark Grey. And the final part of the armour recipe is the chipping colour, and for this I'm choosing a nice red-brown colour, in this case GW Rhinox Hide. So here he is with all the details painted in and some weathering and battle damage applied as well. Obviously this type of thing is very much personal taste, but hopefully you've enjoyed the recipe for the yellow armour. And if you have, then hit that like button. And to make sure you don't miss out on all our other Heresy recipes, make sure you hit subscribe as well. And we'll see you next time.